Well, just 2 games to go in the AFC Champions League Elite East region, and tonight it's Ulsan HD versus Melbourne City at the Ulsan Munsu Stadium, colloquially known as the Big Crown. And 2 teams who are well placed to qualify for the knockout stage, but haven't quite yet secured their passage. The league stage has had plenty of twists and turns, but now we're at the business end. The standings showing that Melbourne City can qualify if they can extend their unbeaten run to 4 games in this competition. Ulsan 2 points and 3 spots behind, but victory today would go a long way to securing their ticket to the next phase. It's a bit of a chilly one in Ulsan, 7 degrees at the moment, which is in stark contrast to the temperatures in Australia, so a bit of a culture shock for Melbourne City, who arrived direct from Sydney after their last domestic league game against Western Sydney Wanderers at the weekend. It's not been an easy 2025 for one of the Korean Republic's biggest and most storied clubs. Ulsan, the 2 times former winners of the AFC Champions League, endured a dreadful domestic campaign, at the end of which they only just avoided the relegation playoffs and went through 3 head coaches. There are the travelling Melbourne City fans, including 1 or 2, I think, from Incheon United, who are here to cheer on Harrison Delbridge, their former favourite, who stands by for his debut for Melbourne City tonight after making the switch in the close season in the Korean Republic. Well, Ulsan haven't played competitively since losing 3-1 to matchday Zelvia in this competition in early December. And tonight it's also a debut in the technical zone for yet another new coach, Kim Hyun-sok, who is a legend of the club, but who has a very big job to do to turn around the Tigers' fortunes. By contrast, Melbourne City have been progressing nicely in Asia. Those 4 games unbeaten, 3 of which have been wins. And their last outing was also to this part of the world. And they returned to Australia with a very handy point after a 1-1 draw against FC Seoul. Domestically, they haven't quite yet set the A-League alight as they seek to defend their championship. They lie just outside the playoff positions after a run of just 2 wins in 10 games. But perhaps, crucially, they are yet to lose to Korean opposition in this competition, the AFC Champions League. There are those shirts paying homage to Harrison Delbridge, who spent the last few years playing in the blue and black stripes of Incheon United, but who will line up for Melbourne City this evening. All change, as I say, for Ulsan. Not just a new head coach, but an entirely new coaching team, and some big names among them. The likes of Lee Yong, Kwak Tae-hui, goalkeeping coach Kim Yong-dae, and Japanese tactician coach Susumu Watanabe. There's even a new CEO in Kang Myung-won. All appointed in the hope of restoring this club to former glory. They are out of season domestically, of course. The new K-League Classic season doesn't kick off for another week or so yet. And they've been busy in the transfer market. We'll see today they've reached an agreement to sign the American under-23 international Benji Michel from Hoika in Finland. And going the other way, Lee Chung-yong, who today has confirmed his move to Incheon United. But today, it's all about 3 very, very important points in the AFC Champions League Elite. Ulsan lying in 8th spot. That's the last position to qualify for the knockout phase. Compatriots Gangwon just behind them. They face Shanghai Port today as well in the Korean Republic. And the clutch of games yesterday saw the Japanese trio of Vissel Kobe, matchday Zelvia and Sanfrecce Hiroshima all securing their spots in the knockout phase. 5 places left then. If Melbourne City get the win today, They will claim one of those. A win for Ulsan. And they won't quite mathematically be there, but it would be a big step forward, both in the Champions League Elite and for the club as a whole, after their troublesome last 12 months. Certainly nowhere near a full house at the Big Crown. Stadium that was used for the World Cup in 2002 as the two teams take in the official anthem of the AFC Champions League Elite. Well, the start of a new era, or the same old story for Ulsan. We're about to find out in the next 90 minutes. Their home form was pretty poor last season. 7 wins, 5 draws, 7 defeats. Here is Kim Hyun-sok's first selection, which contains 7 full internationals. Among them, Lee Dong-gyong, who returns from Gimcheon Sangmu, where he did his military service and was the K-League Player of the Year for 2025. Also returning, Brazilian striker Iago Cariello, who scored 10 goals in 14 on loan to Zhejiang in the Chinese Super League, but was unable to agree a permanent deal. Captain Kim Young-kwon, arguably the best defender the Korean Republic has produced since Hong Myung-bo. And on the bench, another Brazilian, Pedrinho, who arrived from Seoul Eland during the closed season. There's our team of officials, led by Ahmed Al-Kaf of Oman. In fact, all the on-field officials hail from that Gulf nation. Aziz Bayich, the captain of Melbourne City, and his opposite number, Kim Young-kwon of Ulsan. Looks like Melbourne City have won the toss. First little battle won as they pose for the official photographs. And we can check on the Melbourne City lineup, which shows 2 changes from the 11 that drew with Western Sydney Wanderers last weekend. Harry Shillington and Samuel Supriyan dropped down to the bench. In come Harrison Delbridge, who spent the last 4 years playing in the Korean Republic for Incheon United, and who starts his second spell with the club. And top scorer Max Caputo returns to lead the attack. Expect Nathaniel Atkinson to switch to right back. And it's a Champions League Elite debut for Ryan Teague, who's on loan from Mechelen in Belgium. On the bench, another loanee, Daniel Arzani, who's also back for a second spell with City on a temporary basis from Ferencváros in Hungary. Melbourne City have had their troubles in the Champions League Elite, even though they haven't lost too many games. They have finished second in the old group stage, and last time out in the league competition, just outside the playoff spot. So tonight a chance for them to progress for the first time to the knockout stage. There is Jo Hyun-woo, 46 times capped by the Korean Republic, and very firmly the number 1 for Ulsan.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've been waiting for. Let the countdown begin.
It's Kang Sang-woo,
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment
who is
we've been waiting for.
a 3 times capped international for the Korean Republic.
5, 4, 3,
And the countdown to kickoff is on. Melbourne City in the light blue shirts, kicking us off, playing from right to left on your screens in the first half. And you look Ulsan, Or is it going to be more storm clouds gathering for the Korean Giants? A bit of defending to do in the opening seconds. And that header from Yago Cariello doesn't help, back towards his own penalty area. Melbourne City looking to catch the home team cold. It's Max Caputo lifting the ball high in the air towards Mehmeti. Caputo looking to spin the defender. And it took a touch ultimately off Sim Sang-min. It'll be the game's first corner. There is Kim Hyun-sok, who played over 300 games for Ulsan. Won the K-League as a player in 1996. Scorer of 111 goals for the Tigers during an illustrious career in dark blue. And it's the team in light blue with the first corner of the contest, which Ryan Teague is going to be forced to wait to take. Ahmed Al-Kaf keeping his eye on any possible confrontations, particularly Mehmeti and Yoon in the middle. Ball will pop out here for Aziz Bayic, the Melbourne City captain. Nice turn by Ryan Teague, and he's managed to find the gap for the cross, which is easily steered away at the near post. Bayic will then shepherd the ball out for a throw. There's Aurelio Bidmar, the Melbourne City coach, who took Adelaide United to the Champions League final all the way back in 2008. And incidentally, along the way, he won here in the Korean Republic, defeating Pohang Steelers 2-0 in the group stage. Confident starts made by the visitors. They, of course, are in season in the A-League. Ulsan have played a couple of friendlies in the build-up to this game. 2-1 win over Shanghai Shenhua and a 3-2 defeat against AGMK of Uzbekistan. But really, there's no substitute for competitive action. They have been without that for 2 months now. Melbourne City know that to their cost, of course. Start of the Champions League Elite competition normally falls in the A-League off-season. Yoon Jong-gyu with the throw. Back for So Myung-gwan. It's a clever header from Yago. And sets in train a potential Ulsan attack. Lee Hee-kyun has continued his run into the penalty area, but was easily swept away by Germán Ferreira. City looking to get going down the right through. Marcus Younis, who's another loanee, joined the club from Brøndby in Denmark, where he's had a bit of a mixed start after joining the club. Foul by Max Caputo, going through the back of Sim Sang-min. Caputo with 8 goals in all competitions so far this season for Melbourne City, including 3 in the Champions League Elite. He got the winner against Buriram, match day 3, also scored 1 against Johor. Younis just holding up the progress of Ulsan briefly, and looked as though the ball had gone out for a throw. Pitch a little patchy in places. 1 or 2 divots already starting to rise. Ahmed Al-Kaf taking action. Throw in by Nathaniel Atkinson. Helped on by Younis. Steadied down by Caputo. Forward by Delbridge. Nice spin by Medin Mehmeti, who's in good form at the moment. 3 goals in his last 4 matches domestically for Melbourne City. Brought down by Lee Hee-kyun. Ulsan struggling with the press of Melbourne City early on. Here's So Byung-gwan. Now they get through that first press. Yoon Jong-gyu on the line for Lee Dong-kyung. No win in the last 3 in the Champions League Elite for the Tigers. 2 defeats and the 1 draw coming against Buriram. And that's something he must address, along with their woeful domestic league form last season. The second ever, or second lowest worst finish in the K-League. It's almost a presentable chance there for Alessandro Lopane, but he just dallied a little. Ryan Teague, whose loan move to Melbourne City has raised some eyebrows in Australia. He left Melbourne Victory, cross-city rivals, in the off-season to go to Europe with Mechelen. Melbourne Victory, by all accounts, wanted to take him back, but he's chosen to go to City instead. Could all come to the fore in a week or two when the Melbourne derby is played. I'm sure the Victory fans will let him know what they think about that move. Tidy footwork from Jo Hyun-woo. And a clever lead by Lee Dong-kyung to get Ulsan moving. This is Darijan Bojanic. Twice capped by the Swedish national team, but of Bosnian heritage. There was some talk a few years ago that he was considering switching his nationality, but yet to be called up by the Bosnians. Teague. Andreas Kuhn. Heavy touch by the Austrian. This is Sim Sang-min. Against the return from Kang Sang-woo, who is also a left-back, but playing in a slightly more advanced position down that left-hand side today for Ulsan. There's a fair bit of conjecture as to what sort of formation, what system Kim Hyun-sok would employ today, whether it would be a back 3 or a back 4. He does prefer the back 3, but the question is whether he's got the wide players to be able to employ that formation. There's Jo Hyun-woo to go long. Easily won in the air by Delbridge. And a foul by Sim Sang-min. Sim Sang-min, who spent last season on loan with Gwangju. One of 5 returning loanees. New coach wanting to have a look at all of his squad before any firm decisions are made. Yunus. Squared up by Ferreira for Delbridge. He's got a bit of a mixed record in the K-League against Ulsan during his days with Incheon. 1 win, 3 draws, 2 defeats from his 6 games against Ulsan. Rather frozen out of Ulsan's team as they won the K-League Classic last year. Beach's poor clearance has put his team under pressure somewhat. managed to drive Ulsan back towards their own half of the field. And this is their captain, Kim Yong-gwon. The flick from Lee Gyu-sung was awry, as was that pass from Lopane. Kang Sang-woo on the left. Back through Bojanic. Now Lee Gyu-sung. It's nice up to that point for Ulsan. And then a miscue from Kang Sang-woo hands possession back to the A-League outfit. Andreas Kuhn. Bajic. A little bit further than Delbridge wanted to track back. Atkinson. Looking for the ball over the top on the run of Max Caputo. He's managed to get there ahead of Sim Sang-min. And links up with Marcus Yunus. Breaks again for Caputo. Lopane. Atkinson to send the ball into the box, but ultimately too strongly for Andreas Kuhn. Thumbs up from Aziz Bajic, who was Melbourne City's goal scorer at the weekend in that 1-1 draw with Western Sydney Wanderers. Aurelio Vidmar's team has been a bit scratchy domestically of late. Back-to-back draws in the domestic league on the back of a 6-2 thrashing at MacArthur. Right it goes for Sim Sang-min. Sang-woo wanted the ball back. It's out for a throw for Ulsan. Sim Sang-min with the apology for not releasing the ball quickly enough. Allowing Atkinson to make the intervention. Ulsan have got a good record against Australian opposition in this competition of late. Last defeat to team from Australia was against Western Sydney Wanderers in 2014. That's a clever ball in for Lee Dong-gyong. Might open up for Ulsan here. In the end, it's placed well over the top by So Myung-gwan. First real shot in anger for either team. Somebody's happy in the crowd because they got a feel of the ball. Tidy approach play though. It was a clever run from Lee Dong-gyong. Kang Sang-woo couldn't release the shots in the end. It was So Myung-gwan that did, but no bother for Patrick Beach in the Melbourne City goal. Ricochet favouring Marcus Yunus, but he's turned the ball over. Good turn by Yago. Lee Dong-gyong. It's really good interplay between the K-League Player of the Year and the big Brazilian. And the foul on the latter gives Ulsan the free kick. Well, they're chanting his name, Yago. Has been a tricky spell for him on loan to Zhejiang last season, where he did really well. He hasn't scored for Ulsan since December 2024. That came in the Champions League Elite against Shanghai Shenhua. And totally just has 6 goals in 26 matches for the K-League outfit. Second time's a charm, perhaps, and that header from So Myung-gwan flies over the top of the crossbar, just like his previous effort. Might well have been offside, the defender. So obviously flighted free kick. sure that So Myung-kwan was offside. The flag went up, that is the verdict. Little nudge by Max Caputo to the side of his opponent. Still just 20 years of age, Max Caputo. Filling the not inconsiderable boots of Jamie McLaren, who remains the domestic competition's all-time leading goal scorer in Australia. Caputo proving to be a more than capable replacement. So Myung-kwan, who's had the game's 2 opportunities so far. Held up by Yago, but Yunus then turning into Sim Sang-min. Leaving his opponent somewhat winded. Well, he will say he's protected the ball. Referee disagreed. He is a winger of immense promise. Marcus Yunus first emerged on the scene with Western Sydney Wanderers. Also had a spell in the Netherlands with PSV Eindhoven, making his Champions League Elite debut this evening. Beach to clear with his less preferred right foot. Challenged header for Kuhn. So Myung-kwan always had front position ahead of Medin Mehmeti. Lee Dong-kyung losing out briefly to Teague. Steered in field, there's a bit of space here for Yago. And again, I don't think he was particularly helped by the state of the pitch there. You saw that divot rise up as the ball rolled across it. Still forward momentum for Ulsan. Lee Dong-kyung on the ball. Back through Kim Young-kwan. No foul on Sim Sang-min. Melbourne City looking to spring forwards, and that's going to be a free kick for the visitors. Marcus Yunus blocked off rather unceremoniously as he tried to get free down the right-hand side, and maybe Kim Young-kwan a little bit fortunate here to escape a yellow card. Clearly cutting across the line of Marcus Yunus. Bajic finding a pocket of space for Kuhn. He was looking to backheel it towards Medin Mehmeti. That's really good defensive play by Lee Hee-kyun, who was fouled, but good advantage played by Ahmed Al-Kaf. As Ulsan streamed forward down the left through Sim Sang-min. A little look at who was in position in the box, and there wasn't really anybody on for them. It's all broken down for Ulsan. And Yunus will stride away down the right for Melbourne City. Comfortably defended though by Bojanic. Bojanic, he won both his caps for Sweden back in 2020. Also renowned as something of a free kick specialist, which I'm sure Melbourne City will be aware of. Atkinson with the throw. 20 minutes played in Ulsan. Harrison Delbridge. Atkinson. secured. Again, the pass was a little bit strong for the Austrian. Lee Dong-gyong ushered into touch by Germán Ferreira. Also, no doubt, glad to have their number 10 back. Played briefly in Germany as well, did Lee Dong-gyong for Schalke and Hansa Rostock. Last 2 years doing his military service. Last season, 13 goals and 11 assists to earn that K-League Player of the Year award. Yunus's ball into the box. Caputo looking to use his strength. One back by Atkinson. Still players in the box for City. Yunus trying to find the angle, and he does so. It's a good play by Jo Hyun-woo, who was also fouled in the process. Safe pair of hands from the goalkeeper, who's been voted into the K-League Best 11 for 10 consecutive seasons. That's what we call consistency. There was a bit of talk that he might be on his way to Major League Soccer during the off-season. A couple of offers reported by the Korean press, but all came to nothing in the end. Iago pointing out that he believes that's the second time that he's been fouled, hoping that Ahmed Al-Kaf is keeping a running count. Lifted forward by So Myung-kwan. Turned back by Lee Hee-gyun. Wasn't the best piece of distribution, that, from Jo Hyun-woo. Catching Sim Sang-min unawares. And certainly the Ulsan plan to get the two fullbacks forward, Sim Sang-min on the left and Yoon Jong-gyu on the right. So far it's been Sim Sang-min who's done it to better effect. Yunus. Atkinson was all a bit tight in there, breaks fatigue. Caputo well marshalled by Kim Young-kwon. It's going to be a key battle to keep an eye on as well. In terms of the individual duels, the youthful exuberance of Max Caputo against greater experience of the 112 times capped Korean Republic international, Kim Young-kwon. Yunus going to ground under the weight of that challenge of Bojanic. Just grabbing hold of the Melbourne City winger. Aziz Bayic looks as though he might be lining this one up. Ryan T can take a mean free kick as well. Captain perhaps pulling rank. With that taste for goals after netting against Western Sydney Wanderers at the weekend. Wall of three for Ulsan. Bayic, well, it was on target, but just catching practice in the end for Jo Hyun-woo. Melbourne City do register the first shot on target. These two teams finishing up next week in the Champions League Elite. They may still need points to qualify. Oh, that's another poor piece of distribution by the goalkeeper. Ulsan get away with this one. Ulsan will go to Shanghai Port, who are already out of the equation. There's that bobble on the pitch again, which almost embarrassed Yoon Jong-gyu. Ulsan spring forward down the other end. Down the right is Kang Sang-woo. Yago waiting at the back post, but Ferreira was there ahead of him. Kang Sang-woo again. Melbourne City round out their campaign with a home game against Gangwon. Both teams will have one eye on that game between next week's opponents, taking place tonight. Comfortable take in time for Beach. Simultaneous kickoffs, by the way, in the two matches tonight. Still goalless in that game between Gangwon and Shanghai Port. So as it stands, both these clubs would go through, or would certainly be in qualification positions at the end of tonight, but a lot of football to be played between now and then, of course. As is Bayic's free kick. Jo Hyun-woo with time to shuffle across his line and make a straightforward save. And again, the distribution is a little bit worrisome for Ulsan. That's better. Good flick on by Yago as well. And the pass somewhat betwixt and between two Ulsan attackers. Picked up by Yoon Jong-gyu. Now Yago. Wide left is Lee Dong-yong. It's Ferreira at the near post for Melbourne City. And Nathaniel Atkinson earning the throw. Also not the first club to have their troubles in terms of the big outfits in the Korean Republic in recent years. It's nice skill by Caputo, meantime. Shut down by Yoon Jong-gyu. They did at least manage to avoid relegation. That's a miscue by Ferreira. Fortunately for him, Delbridge was providing cover. Atkinson slaloming away down the right. Likes of Suwon Blue Wings, Songnam, Busan I-Park have all been relegated from the K-League Classic in recent seasons. And you might remember a year or two back, Jeonbuk Motors having an awful season as well. Like Ulsan, they just about managed to avoid the drop. And last season were champions, taking over Ulsan's crown. They'd won the three previous campaigns. Here's Aziz Bayic, that's a handy-looking cross into the box. Yunus treading on the ball and then shooting on the turn. It does take a touch, so it will be a corner. But Melbourne City probably thinking they should have had a bit more than that. Bayic's cross caused the confusion. And in the end, that's an important touch off the outstretched leg of Sim Sang-min. Might have been angling into the top corner off the boot of Marcus Yunus. Andreas Kuhn being spoken to by referee Ahmed Al-Kaf. He's told to keep his distance. He's right in front of the goalkeeper. Defender for Ulsan there, trying to guard his goalkeeper. Ryan Teague perhaps looking to whip it in near post. That's the angle, and the goalkeeper came and was fouled. He's not had a very comfortable opening half an hour, Jo Hyun-woo. Teague's corner putting him under pressure. I'm not sure there's a whole lot in that, to be honest. But goalkeepers do tend to get the benefit of the doubt, don't they? Yago. Kang Sang-woo. Twisting and turning to try and get clear of Delbridge. And it's the angle for the cross. That's beyond Yunus. Tidied up by Bojanic. Heavy first touch. Yago is offside and knows it. Good. Driven back by Yoon Jong-gyu. Here is Mehdi Mehmeti. Comfortable enough for Lee Kyu-sung, or it should have been. They've given it away. Top of the box is Lopane. Good intervention by Bojanic. Back with Bajic. Kuhn. Bajic trying to flick it through the legs of Yoon Jong-gyu. In the end, Ulsan sorted out, at least for the moment. City back on the ball. Bajic. Finds an option in Teague. Bajic. They've done really well there, Melbourne City, to somehow manage to find an opening for the cross. In the end, it flicks off the head of Yunus and behind for a goal kick. They had to pick their way through the mass ranks of the Ulsan defence. The header well wide at the end. Charged down by Kuhn, just to keep Ulsan penned in their own half of the field. That's Melbourne City's third crack at the Champions League Elite, out of the group in 2022 and 2024. League as it's become, looking to become the first Australian club to reach the knockout phase since Melbourne victory in 2020. Melbourne victory, by the way, were then beaten by Ulsan in the round of 16. Lopane can have a go here. A couple of different jerseys in that away end. One for the Newcastle Jets, A-League rivals, but seemingly on the same side tonight. They're going well as well. And the former Socceroo Mark Milligan at the moment. Delbridge. Bajic for Ferreira. Atkinson. Lopane. Yunus. Atkinson. Played this really well, Melbourne City. And Yunus away down the right. Can he find the right cross? Caputo! Oh, it's a brilliant goal for Melbourne City. With 10 minutes of the first half to play, Max Caputo strikes for his 9th goal of the season in all competitions. Marcus Yunus with the assist. And it was brilliantly worked from their own half of the field. First blood for Melbourne City in this crucial AFC Champions League Elite game. Needed a bit of help off the post. And I do wonder whether there might be a slight suspicion that Caputo might be offside. But otherwise, plenty to admire in that build-up from Melbourne City. That was liquid football. Well, the verdict is that the goal stands. And there wasn't much of a delay, so clearly Max Caputo did time his run exactly right. It's his 3rd goal in this competition this season, his 4th overall. And as I say, his 9th in all competitions. And Ulsan have it all to do. A situation they've become very familiar with over the last 12 months. Cross into the box, and Beach under pressure from Yago. It's a really good punch. And Atkinson scoops the ball away. Ulsan looking to mount an immediate response. And the bad news for Ulsan, or further bad news, is that domestically at least, where Melbourne City have hit the front this season, which they have done on 7 previous occasions, they are yet to lose. 6 wins and 1 draw. That's in the domestic competition, though. So a headache already for the new coach. They went through 3 last turn. Kim Pangon came and went. Shin Tae-yong, who has his own Australian links, didn't last very long, and then Roh Sang-rae finished off the season as they limped over the finish line and just about managed to avoid the drop. This is Bojanic as they look for the equalizer. Oh, and Atkinson's pass has gone astray, straight to Yoon Jong-gyu. Bit of space here. Lee Hee-kyun, Lee Dong-yong, and seen out for a corner in the end by Ryan Teague. Mistake by Atkinson. Gives Ulsan this set-piece opportunity. Lee Dong-yong, who won the corner, will deliver it. Yago Cariello, an obvious aerial target. There he is. Centre picture being marked at the moment by one of the shorter Melbourne City players, Aziz Bajic. Meantime, Ahmed Al-Kaf wants a little conference with Marcus Yunus, and his captain's been called across as well. No doubt with the instruction to tell his teammate to keep his arms to himself and his mouth shut. Here's the corner, which goes flat and tipped over by Patrick Beach to deny So Myung-kwan again. Well, that's 3 chances he's had. Well, this one, the first that really forces the goalkeeper into making a save. It's a corner that went low and bounced, and Melbourne City couldn't deal with it. There's just going to be a slight delay here while VAR check for a possible penalty. And that check is quickly over. So consecutive corners, more flight to this one from Lee Dong-gyong. It's not a good ball from Yoon Jong-gyu. Melbourne City can strain forward. It's Marcus Yunus down the right. Nedim Mehmeti calling for it at the back post, but a more cautious approach from Aurelio Vidmar's team. Ferreira. Atkinson. Swept wide, not accurately so though, by Lopane, who might have been fouled. Yep, they're going to come back for the free kick. Ahmed Al-Kaf just waiting to see if any advantage accrued for the Australian team, who have the lead thanks to Max Caputo. Although they have just kept the 1 clean sheet in the Champions League Elite so far this season. That was in the 2-0 win over Johor in Melbourne. Here's Bajic as they seek a 2-0 lead here. Breaks back for the Melbourne City skipper, and he's content to let it go out for a throw. Still goalless in the other game between Gangwon and Shanghai Port. Here's Caputo. Ulsan felt there might have been a bit of a shove on their captain Kim Yong-kwon. Backheel by Yunus as the Tigers struggle to clear their lines. Now they are going to get some respite. And again, just on the Champions League Elite League table, scoreline in Gangwon, and the scoreline here means that at the moment Ulsan and Gangwon are dead level on 8 points, and both with the same -2 goal difference. Intriguing. Here's Lee Dong-gyong into the box. It's just going to run away from Kang Sang-woo. We will tick over into the last minute of the first half. Not too many stoppages either, and some rather glum faces wearing those dark blue scarves. They've only scored 1 goal in their last 4 competitive matches, Ulsan. Obviously this is a new season and a new look team. Dong-gyong's cross easily steered away by Delbridge. But for the moment at least, it would appear the same problems apply for Ulsan. Dug out by Bojanic. This is Lee Kyu-sung through So Myung-kwan. Lovely release by the defender, Yoon Jong-gyu. Out on the volley by Delbridge. Held up by Mehmeti. Now the chase is on. Kim Yong-kwon showing all his experience. Really flustered. 35 years of age now, the Ulsan skipper. And to 3 World Cups and 3 Asian Cups with the Korean Republic. And gets away from Kang Sang-woo. 1 or 2 groans of frustration from the home support. 2 minutes of added time. They played almost a minute of that. Atkinson managed to keep the ball alive. Yunus. And he is then tripped by Kang Sang-woo. Pressure relieved on Melbourne City. Well, the home fans finding their voice. The Cho Young Warriors, the main supporter group. Melbourne City fans heavily outnumbered, but they're the happiest people inside the big crowd at the moment. Certainly beanie weather as well. Sent long by Kim Young-kwon. And that is half-time, and Melbourne City lead this crucial contest by 1-0. Max Caputo at the end of a flowing move. Marcus Yunus with the assist on Champions League debut. Ulsan under their new coach have it all to do. At the break, it's Ulsan 0, Melbourne City 1. A wonderful shot from the drone of this futuristic stadium and indeed the city of Ulsan. But new coach, same old story for the Tigers. And as things stand, with the other game between Gangwon and Shanghai Port goalless at the break, Ulsan are out of the top 8. But that could all change in the next 3/4 of an hour. As for Melbourne City, they're 45 minutes away from making history and qualifying for the knockout stage for the very first time. Referee Ahmed Al-Kaf still waiting for the signal to get us back underway. A reminder of the state of play: Ulsan 0, Melbourne City 1. Max Caputo with the goal on 36 minutes. Doesn't look as though either coach has made any changes at the break. And Ulsan get us back underway in the navy blue strip, kicking from right to left on your screen in the second half, and chasing goals to get their campaign back on track. Only Shanghai Port have scored fewer than Ulsan in this year's Champions League Elite. As for Melbourne City, seeking to become the first Australian side since Western Sydney Wanderers 4,320 days ago to defeat Ulsan in this competition, and that's a really sickening collision involving goalkeeper Patrick Beach as he came out to sweep the ball clear. Kang Sang-woo collecting with the right leg of the Melbourne City goalkeeper. That's what's caused the problem. To be fair, he did turn his back. He certainly wasn't intending to hurt Patrick Beach. But hurt him, he most certainly did. Melbourne City have young goalkeeper James Nieuwenhuizen on the bench. He's only made one senior appearance. That was a couple of years back in the Australia Cup against Perth Glory. He's only just back in the squad after a serious knee injury. There he is. He's stripped and ready to go, which suggests that this might be a significant problem for Patrick Beach. 22 years of age, James Nieuwenhuizen. From Shepparton in Victoria. Looks like his services might not be required after all. Patrick Beach, arguably the up-and-coming goalkeeper in the A-League. Already made his senior debut for the Socceroos in the game against Venezuela, where he was voted man of the match as well. Looks a little bit proppy though, doesn't he? One to keep an eye on. Play will resume with Sim Sang-min's throw. And this is Yago. And that's a foul by Yunus. Marcus Yunus has had one or two conversations with the Omani referee. Might just be walking a bit of a fine line. Clearly a foul. Chance for Lee Dong-yong to swing in the set piece. Ulsan looking to restore parity. Lee Dong-yong's delivery was a good one too, away by Yunus, who atoned in part for his concession of the free kick. Slung wide. And then, rather oddly, up in the air and behind for a goal kick off the boot of Darijan Bojanic. His first half-time team talk. Oh, to a bit of fly on the wall for that one. But he knows it's not necessarily going to be a quick fix. Rather inelegant volley from Bojanic. Bench's left boot is certainly okay. Brought down here by Kuit. Sent wide by Lopane. Back through Atkinson. Yunus, all through the legs of the fullback. Looked as though he was blocked off by Sim Sang-min, and the whistle blows for a Melbourne City free kick. Good duel, these two as well. Yunus with the honours, particularly for a sumptuous assist for the goal that divides the two teams. Dispatched at the near post by Max Caputo. This is going to be the in-swinger from Aziz Bejic. Fully away and just jabbed towards goal by Harrison Delbridge in front of his adoring fan club. Up in the air by Bejic, off the head of Delbridge. Bojanic through the gap for Lee Hee-kyun. Now Lee Dong-kyung, time to try and pick out his teammate, and I'm not sure Yago was expecting that ball to come on through to him. Atkinson completely missed it. But there's a bit more urgency about Ulsan at the outset of the second half. I think Yago is expecting Atkinson to clear here. Seemed to pull the right foot away. Rather indicative of the way things have gone for him at Ulsan. First really emerged on the scene in the Korean Republic with a loan spell with Gangwon back in 23-24, and he scored 10 goals in 29 games to put himself on the radar. Lopane can't protect it. Here's Kang Sang-woo. Finding the angle for the cross. Oh, it's a really dangerous one as well. Lee Hee-kyun wasn't able to apply the finishing touch. And it rolls out for a Melbourne City throw. Well, that's better by Kim Hyun-sok's team. Kang Sang-woo creating the angle. Just the slightest of touches off the boot of Lee Hee-kyun. No changes made by either coaches yet. Ulsan have new signing Pedrinho on the bench, Brazilian winger who's arrived from Seoul, Eland. Melbourne City on the attack at the moment. Max Caputo using his strength. Not quite able to link up with Mehdi Mehmeti. He threw himself to the ground in the penalty area rather theatrically. There's more tempo to the game now. Bejic. Back through Atkinson. Stayed alive for Kuhn. City get a corner. Or do they? Now, linesman says that ball had already gone out for a goal kick. Kuhn wants to continue the conversation, but it'll all be to no avail. Interesting that Joe Hyun-woo doesn't take many of the goal kicks. His distribution was a little bit awry in the first half. Maybe that's why. Forward by Bayic. Kuhn. Front position ahead of So Myung-gwan, but not quite able to keep the ball in play. Talking of substitutes, by the way, as we were, Melbourne City have found 4 goals off the bench in this Champions League Elite campaign so far this season. Goals contributing to some really important points. As things stand here, it'll be Melbourne City going through to the knockout stage to join those 3 Japanese clubs who were in their passage last night. Work to do though. Ferreira cutting across, and the whistle goes. Just clipped the heel of Atkinson. Yunus with another foul. Still no yellow cards in this game. Lee Dong-gyong, as ever, on set-piece duty. Bojanic looking to make his move away from the main body of the players. Here is Bojanic. The break here for Lee Hee-kyun. Ulsan throw. So Myung-gwan strikes the referee, which means that play will have to stop. Once upon a time that was seen as just part of the game and play on, but no longer. It's been the rule for quite some time now. Where are the goals going to come from for Suwon? Top scorer from last season, Eric Farias, the Brazilian, out with injury at the moment. Second top scorer, Ludvigsson, has left the club. Just 1 goal scored, as mentioned, in their last 4 competitive matches. That was in the 3-1 loss to Machida Zelvia in their last Champions League Elite match, scored by On Won Song, who's also since departed. It's a little clumsy by Caputo, who has got his name on the score sheet tonight. In fairness to him, Sim Sang-min was looking for that contact, wasn't he? Meantime, Lapane's got a whack to the face. He's had his injury concerns in the last 12 months, 6 months out with a knee problem, only returned in January. He's got good reason to remember his last trip to Korea as well. Scored for the Olyroos, the under-23 team from Australia, against the Korean Republic in a friendly series victory back in June of last year. This is Yago. Hustled out of it in midfield. Kuhn. Can't link up with Yunus. Yago again. It's a better looking ball, but Atkinson should be able to deal with it. And the flag is up anyway. Clearly offside against Kang Sang-woo. They are approaching that point in the game when you feel that Ulsan might have to make changes. They've also got the Brazilian striker Marcao on the bench. Pedrinho, as mentioned. And the 6'4" striker Ho Yul is also a potential candidate in terms of the attacking options. For Melbourne City, well, they've got a certain Daniel Arzani up their sleeve, player who featured for Australia at the 2018 World Cup. Very talented winger who's had a rather eclectic playing career at club level. Sim Sang-min. Quite able to break clear of Marcus Yunus. So Myung-gwan. Pushed forward by Yoon Jong-gyu. Into the final half an hour at the Big Crown. Up and under off the boot of Bojanic. This is Lee Dong-yong. More promising perhaps for Ulsan. Atkinson got a toe on the ball. Referee not interested in those half shouts for a penalty from Ulsan. Still goalless in the other game between Gangwon and Shanghai Ports. These two results, if they were to become results, would leave Ulsan outside the top 8 going into the final match day away to Shanghai Ports. Melbourne City host Gangwon next week. Defending to do for Aurelia Vidmar's team here. Pereira blocking off the run of Lee Kyu-sung. Teague. Mehmeti. Oh, we didn't see Bojanic arriving. It's going to be an Ulsan throw. And the visitors just slightly more stressed in the second half than they were in the first. Nothing to unduly bother Patrick Beach as yet. It's good foraging by Teague. Chase on here for Max Caputo. He's managed to prevent the goal kick at least and keep Ulsan penned in their own half of the field. Straight foot race with So Myung-gwan, who is a signing from Bucheon last year. Also a one-time capped Korean Republic international. Made his debut at the East Asian Cup against Hong Kong, China last year. A bit of space for Kang Sang-woo. There's the angle for the cross, but there was nobody there. And Ferreira saying to Patrick Beach, "You should have given me a call." I didn't think it would be too long before we saw changes. nobody, bar the 3 Melbourne City defenders, in the penalty box. It's a rather needless corner conceded by the visitors, which Lee Dong-gyong, of course, will take. City have conceded only 1 aerial goal all season domestically. It's a very flat delivery. That one's got more air, and that one's on target again from So Myung-gwan. Bizarre that almost all of the chances that have fallen for Ulsan, not that there have been too many, have gone to that player, the defender. At least he got that one on target. Little back heel by Bojanic. That's where it breaks down for Ulsan. Yunus didn't really have an option. Finish line still some way off for Melbourne City. Unaccustomed position for them in this competition. They'll try and hold their shape, hold their nerve. It's a good intervention by Delbridge, which will help. Off the head of Yunus. Caputo has a player free on the left. And they go down the right. Lapane. Way back through Atkinson. Yunus, can he find a cross similar to the one for the goal? Atkinson with the cutback. For Caputo, might get a second bite at it here. Back through Yunus. A bit of sustained possession for Melbourne City. They've not had too much of that in the second half. Looks as though Samuel Cyprian's being readied for City, but before then, 3 changes. For Ulsan. Harrison Delbridge's debut is over. Samuel Cyprian is going to be his replacement. Also going to see Daniel Arzani on for Andreas Kuhn, and Alessandro Lapane has also taken his leave. Harrison Shillington is on. So 2 defenders in Shillington and Cyprian for Melbourne City. Daniel Arzani, the fresh legs in terms of the attack. As we reach the midway point now of the second half. As Cyprian's first involvement. 36 years of age now, the defender, and here come those 3 changes for Ulsan. Kang Sang-woo coming off. Sim Sang-min is another one to take his leave. And the 3 new players, Cho Hyun-taek, who operates down that left-hand side. Ho Yul, who's the big tall striker. And Jang Si-young. See how those changes impact the game. It's a rather scruffy attempt at a pass from Lee Gyu-sung. He's made his move off the bench. Another Melbourne City throw. There's one of the new players, Jang Si-young. Was another one of the loanees last season. With boot shot. It's offside against Caputo. Jang Si-young actually scored on his last Champions League Elite appearance. He's in a 2-1 loss away to Buriram back in February of last year. How Ulsan could do with a goal here tonight with just 20 minutes remaining. It's a good retrieval by the freshly arrived Daniel Arzani. Breaks here for Caputo. Shot blocked though by Kim Young-gwon. Ulsan looking to spring forward, but Atkinson in the way. And the shots palmed away by Jo Hyun-woo. A little untidily. But on this pitch, perhaps felt that he couldn't afford to take too much of a gamble by trying to grab the ball. Mehdi Mehmeti with the effort. It's a rather uneven bounce in places on this pitch. Jo Hyun-woo deciding putting the ball behind was the safer option. Meantime, So Myung-gwan's got a problem. Out of the 4 chances, or 4 decent chances that Ulsan have managed to create, every single one of them has fallen to him. He's the central defender. We're going to see another change very shortly for Ulsan. Going to see Miloš Trojak, the Pole. That's his nationality, not that he's particularly tall, although he is quite a big fella. Meantime, Teague's corner for Melbourne City. Up but not yet away by Kim Young-gwon. Back in by Atkinson, and then Shillington. And here's Younes! Oh, well, he just jabbed it futsal style towards the goal. It was probably the best option because he didn't have a lot of time, but it was straight to the goalkeeper. And a second goal for City now, you feel, would really kill off this game. Still goalless between Gangwon and Shanghai Port, with a similar amount of time left in the other game in the Eastern region. Sent forward by Lee Gyu-sung. Jang Si-young gets the throw in. Here's that change. And So Myung-gwan, who's been struggling a bit in the last few minutes, is the man to be replaced by Miloš Trojak, 31 years of age. And his father, Josef, was a professional footballer in Poland with Śląsk Wrocław. Here's his first touch on the ball, arrived at the club from Korona Kielce in 2025. The club's first foreign central defensive signing since Baby Bulthuis of a few years ago. Here's Arzani. Younes will keep Cho Hyun-taek honest, but calmly defended by one of the new arrivals off the bench. Forward by Teague. There's Cho again. To roars from the home gallery. Trojak. space there for Jang Si-young. Did the best he could. Hooked out of play by Supriyan. It's just got away from Cho Hyun-taek. Kim Hyun-sok will start his domestic campaign, strangely enough, against Gangwon at home. Round 1 of the K-League Classic. Round 2 they face FC Seoul, which will be a big stern test of their credentials as well. Melbourne City have been caught offside. Time starting to become of the essence at the big ground for Ulsan. Twice winners of this competition, 2012, 2020. Last time where they beat Persepolis in the final by 2-1, 6 years ago now. Semi-finalists in 2024. A club that has fallen upon hard times of late. Really struggling on a rather bumpy pitch. Let's see what Jang Si-young can do here. Faced by Baich. On the overlap, Yoon Jong-gyu. It's not a bad ball. Flicks off the head of Yago. Lee Dong-young, and the deflection favours Patrick Beach and Melbourne City. There was just a moment of panic there in the visitors' defence. Yoon Jong-gyu's overlapping run wasn't a bad delivery. And that deflection off Shillington took all the sting out of it. Here's Baich. Robbed on the blind side by Jang Si-young. Yago. Forward by Bojanic, but straight at Baich. The whistle's gone in favour of Melbourne City. And referee on to word with Yago, perhaps for something said. Meantime, a change for Melbourne City, and it's going to be the goal scorer, Max Caputo, to take his lead, but he's provided the big highlight so far. His goal from Marcus Eunice's cross in the 36th minute remains the difference. Kavian Rahmani to be his replacement. He's just back after a month out with injury. And that would probably mean Medin Mehmeti going to the points of the City attack, with Rahmani on one flank and Eunice on the other. "12 minutes to go. Is it going to be another troubling night for Ulsan? By the way, not just on the pitch, but off it too. Club in dispute at the moment with player Ko Sung-bom over his request to take paternity leave, which was denied. Looks like that's going to go through the Korean courts. It's a decent ball into the box, looking for Marcus Eunice, but beaten in the air. Now the foot race is on, and Atkinson got a little piece of that. He's done really well to regain possession for City. Eunice. He wasn't favourite for that ball. Can't find Mehmeti, and Arzani beaten to it by Jo Hyun-woo. Is Hu Yol. Lee Dong-young. utilised the twin strike force now of Iago Caniello and Ho Yul. It's gone over the top of the former there, and Ho Yul trying to get the shot away. Here's Bojanic, he's done it! From long range, Daniel Bojanic, with just over 10 minutes to go, draws Ulsan level. They haven't created a whole heap, but they've got their first goal under their new coach. And we're back at 1-1 at the big crowd. Well, the ball into the box caused a bit of confusion. It was a poor clearance by Shillington, and Bojanic, maybe with a slight touch on its way through, found a route to goal. Yeah, I think it just glances off the head of Germán Ferreira. And that was enough to deceive Patrick Beach. And Melbourne City's resistance is broken. Well, what a fascinating last 10 minutes we've got now. It's only Bojanic's second goal in this competition. Scored in the semi-finals back in 2024 against Yokohama F. Marinos. This goal, even though it's in the league stage, you'd say perhaps equally as important. Here's Arzani. Can City go again? Looked like a foul by Bejic, but advantage play by Ahmed Al-Kaf. And Ulsan look to stream forward. That changes the complexion of the group once again. Ulsan move back into 8th position. In fact, they go up to 7th, above Johor. Melbourne City would move on to 11th. Level with Buriram in 4th. Close to qualification, but not quite there. All 3 points would send them through, Melbourne City. Shillington. Ferreira, who got that rather unfortunate and certainly unwanted touch on Bojanic's shot. Hooked forward by Teague, return with interest by Troyak. Steadied down by Lee Gyu-sung. Iago, Bojanic. Now there's some room. Forward for Ho Yul. Iago. Who did the final touch come off? It's Ho Yul. And a goal kick for Melbourne City. Well, he had time to set himself, plenty of power, and that slight deflection brought about those celebrations. And they haven't had too many of those at this place over the last 12 months. Shove in the back by Ferreira on Ho Yul. And you'd imagine for these last few minutes they'll be looking to create angles for crosses for Ho Yul and Iago. There's Lee Dong-yong looking to do just that. A little bit deep on that occasion. Brought down nicely by Jang Si-young. Sent back by Yoon Jong-gyu. Squared up for Kim Young-kwon. Bojanic around the corner. Amazing what a goal can do for confidence for a football team. Because at times tonight they've looked devoid of ideas, Ulsan. draw would still be a good result for Melbourne City. Would leave matters in their own hands ahead of their final game at home to Gangwon next week. Still got some work to do here to secure that point. That'll help from Bajic. Atkinson can't find a way through though, and they're back on the defensive. Lee Dong-kyung setting himself. And flashing one just wide of the right-hand upright. He thought that was it. Well wide in the end. Lee Dong-kyung, one of the survivors from Ulsan's last Champions League success in 2020, although he didn't play in the final. There's a bit of interest reportedly from Leicester City in his services, but he said he wanted to stay with Ulsan and help them out of this malaise that they're in at the moment. Last 5 minutes at the big crowd. Jang Si-young, it's a lovely turn. And he drives forward. Can he find the cross to finish? It's not really what was required from Bojanic. They'll go again. Lee Dong-kyung. Overlapping is Cho Hyun-taek. Out by Ferreira. Off the head of Lee Gyu-sung. Desperate measures called for Melbourne City. It came off the boot of Bajic, but a bit of comfort now for Patrick Beach. Yunus has gone down heavily after that aerial challenge with Cho Hyun-taek. Suggesting that there's an elbow involved. Hyun-taek, of course, has a very different view. Bit of a mixed bag tonight from Marcus Yunus, but no doubting his potential. Beautiful cross he put on for the goal scored by Max Caputo. Can Melbourne City go again? Their captain about to take the latest free kick. Very flat. Breaks here for Atkinson. Pretty sure that was a shot, which was charged down by Yago. Breaks here for Arzani. Hugging the touchline. Oh, it's a really good release. Squared up by Mehmeti, but Teagues had to go the long way around. Finds the angle for the cross, which isn't a bad one. Still not completely away. Now Lee Gyu-sung does get distance on the clearance. Back with Bajic, now Teague. Bit of flight, and Mehmeti went for the spectacular. That really would have been a way to finish the game. Last 90 seconds of the regulation 90 minutes. Still all square in the other game. Gangwon 0, Shanghai Port 0. So Gangwon, if it stays that way, will need to go to Melbourne next week and get a result if they're to qualify for the round of 16. Point will be enough for Melbourne City. Here's Ramani. 3 points would seal it once and for all. And they have made a habit of scoring late goals. Lee Jin-hyun is being readied as a late change for Ulsan. Player who came home last season, but rather disappointed on his return from Poland. Take it short for Teague. And Melbourne City will get another chance from the corner. Fourth official just making sure he's got the numbers correct. It's taking too long, so referee says, let's go with the corner. Substitution can wait. Arzani's delivery goes all the way through for Rahmani. That kick by Mehmeti. Atkinson with a bit of a slice, still alive for Teague. Only partly away, back in by Atkinson. Rahmani marched over, but there's no foul by Cho Hyun-taek. And we're into the first of 5 added minutes at the end of the 90. Well, it's a little bump between the two, but not enough in the opinion of the referee for a free kick. Cho Hyun-taek urging one last effort from the stands. Lee Jin-hyun is with us. Yago is the man replaced. Well, the fans still chanting Yago's name, which will be music to his ears after a rather troubled spell. Nathaniel Atkinson's picked up a yellow card. Melbourne City have a free kick here for the foul on Daniel Arzani. Which has not yet been put in the right spot. Touch short by Arzani, Bates with the cross. Not so far as Atkinson. Teague. They've got plenty of numbers here, and it's volleyed in! Marcus Younis! Another stoppage time goal! And is that the strike that sends Melbourne City through to the round of 16 of the AFC Champions League Elite for the first time in their history? It certainly looks that way. A goal and an assist for Marcus Younis on his Champions League Elite debut. And it all came about from a free kick that Ulsan could not clear. Back in by Teague. The touch out wide and the volley from Marcus Younis was true. And nothing the goalkeeper could do. And not for the first time in this competition this season. Melbourne City strike late and have seemingly bagged all 3 points and a first ever qualification for the knockout stage. He might get a yellow card for taking the shirt off as well, Marcus Younis, but I don't think he'll care much about that. City are going to make a late change as well. Medin Mehmeti is going to be withdrawn. Bessian Kutleshi, a defender, to be introduced for whatever remains. A little bit of added insurance for Aurelio Vidmar's team. Australia has not had a qualifier for the knockout phase of the Champions League since Melbourne victory 6 years ago in 2020. But their crosstown rivals are on the brink here after Marcus Younis' volley. Can Ulsan come from behind for a second time? And is that 4,000 plus day wait for a win over Ulsan by an Australian club about to come to an end. And Ulsan move back outside the top 8 for the moment. Still goalless in the other game between Gangwon and Shanghai Ports. Deep into stoppage time in that game as well. It will mean they will have to beat Shanghai Port and hope that results go their way next week on the final match day. Or at the very least, not lose. Still alive here for the moment. An important toe-in by one of the goal scorers, Marcus Yunus. This could be the last attack. Into the box by Lee Jin-hyun, the substitute. Daniel Arzani must head upfield and try and run down the clock. And City are almost there. A check of the watch from referee Ahmed Al-Kaf. On we go for the moment. Time maybe for one more attack. It's launched forward. Return with interest by Aziz Bayic. Good touch by Arzani. Free kick, Ulsan. Arzani trying to prevent the restart and then being unceremoniously thrown to the floor by Yoon Jong-gyu. And we tick over into the 7th minute of stoppage time. Is there going to be more late drama here? Bojanic's free kick, dealt with by Kutleshi. That's what he's been brought on to provide. Troyak, another look at the watch from Ahmed Al-Kaf. Sent long again. Everybody forward now for Ulsan, but Beach should be able to come out and gather this one. And that might just be that for Ulsan. The full-time whistle goes. It's a famous night for Melbourne City as they secure passage through to the knockout phase of the Champions League Elite for the very first time and spoil the Kim Hyun-sok inauguration party in Ulsan. The Tigers now left waiting nervously to learn of their fate, and the Gangwon score against Shanghai Port. It will all hinge upon the final match day for Ulsan, but City don't care. That late goal from Marcus Yunus enough for a 2-1 win, and they're into the last 16 of Asia's regional showpiece. Full-time scoreline at the Big Crown. Ulsan 1, Melbourne City 2.
팬 여러분, 90분 동안 최선을 다했던 양 팀의 선수들에게 따뜻한 응원의 박수를 부탁드립니다.